melty, delicious, definitely not nutritious mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. Hey everybody, I got a request from the other day for a recipe for a 5-cheese macaroni and cheese from my big brother Daniel. So that's what I've got going on right now for you. In the pot here, we've got turkey sausage, just kind of, cooking that off, browning it a little bit. To this I'm going to add spaghetti onion. Just going to give this a quick dice. Seen me do this before. Take that, put it right into the pot. And I like a lot of onion, so I'm going to go ahead and chop this other half too and get that in the pot as well. So again, quick, easy peasy. I don't know if you can hear it outside, probably not, but it's kind of thundering its ass off. It's been raining and nasty here in Savannah for the last 3 hours, so I spent the last 2 hours taking a nap and the last hour setting up to do this for you. Good comfort food on a rainy day. Okay, so I'm going to give this a little stir now. We're just going to kind of sweat these onions out. Sweating, you're really just extracting the flavor from the onions without browning them. So they won't get any kind of caramel color to them, but you will get all that nice onion flavor without that sweetness that comes along from a caramelized onion. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to prep out some garlic. For the most part I have these peeled and ready to go. I'm just so in love with this little manicotti. That's why I keep using it in front of you. I want you to buy it. Trust me, it's a lifesaver. Okay. Well. There we go. Okay, so we're just going to start pressing all this garlic into the pan. And the great thing about using this Dutch oven for this is that I'm really going to be able to do pretty much everything in this pan. I'm going to build the entire dish in there, bake it in there, serve it from there. It's a pretty awesome thing when you don't have a ton of dishes to wash. Probably one of the things I hate doing most. Okay. Alright, that's it for our garlic. Okay, so just give this a stir. Alright, and you can see all that sort of oil and juice that's accumulating down there. That's going to help us make the roux to thicken the sauce for this cheese. So that's a good thing. Don't drain all that off. I know some of your big health nuts, but you kind of need that in there. For the most part, since I'm using turkey, this isn't really fat from the meat. This is fat that I started out with, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. So it's good unsaturated fat. It's not going to be too harmful. Okay. So once the turkey gets brown, you're ready to start your sauce. I'm going to go into this now with about half a cup of flour. And you'll see the flour's going to absorb all that excess oil in there. We're going to let that cook for just a minute. Whoa, I hope you heard that, because it's pretty awesome. The lighting is like really intense right now. That's alright, lightning ain't gonna bring me down. Ain't gonna stop me from making mac and cheese. Alright. So now we're gonna switch utensils here. This is where a whisk is gonna come into play. Alright, we're going to start adding the milk. A lot of times when you're making a cream sauce like this, you're going to start out with warm milk. Because we're adding so much cheese and there's so much stuff in there, if it gets a little bit lumpy, not a big deal. So just go ahead, throw that whole thing in there. Okay, just start kind of whisking it all together. Yum, yum, yum. Okay. Now what you're going to want to do as soon as that milk hits the pot, you want to go into that with your sun-dried tomatoes. These were a bag of sun-dried tomato halves that I bought. I just kind of chopped them down. You can leave them as the halves if it doesn't bother you. I just kind of think it gets them a little bit more evenly distributed when you chop it up like that. And the reason you want to add that as soon as the milk hits the pan is as that milk comes up to a simmer, it's going to really rehydrate those so they're not so chewy when you're ready to eat it. Okay. And just so as I've told you before, anytime you're making a white sauce like this when you're using a roux, once that comes up to a simmer, that's when it's going to be thickened to its maximum thickness. And you'll see it's not going to be super thick with just the milk on its own, but we don't necessarily want it to be because we're going to add a lot of cheese to that, and that's going to act as a thickening agent as well. Okay. So just let that sit for just a couple minutes and come to a simmer. While that's happening, I'll tell you about the pasta here. I'm using just whole grain rotini. It's kind of my preferred pasta when I'm doing macaroni and cheese. I like how the cheese sauce gets stuck under all those little ridges that the pasta has. Oh yeah, zoom in. Just to talk about boiling pasta real quick, you really want to make sure that you have a fairly large pot to boil pasta in. Otherwise what happens is all that starch that comes off the pasta, it's too concentrated in a small pot and it causes everything to stick together. It's also how you end up with a little bit of scorching on the bottom. The other thing you want to make sure of is that your pasta water is boiling and salted. If it's not boiling, your pasta is not going to cook evenly. What's going to happen is it's going to go into that sort of lukewarm water, and as that water heats up, it's going to cook everything off the exterior and the pasta is just going to fall apart. Okay, so you can see this is starting to bubble now. It means it's coming up to a simmer. Okay. And like I said, this isn't going to be super thick right off the bat. What we're going to do is add a couple cups of cheese here. Well, 2 to 3, probably 3. Okay. We're going to reserve some of that to go on the top when it goes in the oven. Oh my god, it looks good! Alright. So now we're going to go into this also with all this spinach. Boom. You're probably going to have to add this in phases here. Once it cooks down, it's going to wilt to nothing, so don't let that freak you out. Just going to push it down in there. And this is just that bag spinach. It's already cleaned and washed. It's easy. It's quick. Why F around with anything else, right? Okay, stir, stir, stir. So that's melting down. More spinach in the pot. Okay. Uh-oh. I'm making a mess here. But anyone can tell you that's kind of how I roll. Okay. So I'm just cooking that down, 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 down. Alright, now we're ready to start seasoning this a bit. I'm going to use some fresh oregano to season this. I wanted basil, but the store didn't have it. Shame on you, Foodline. You should always have basil. But this is what it's going to look like when you purchase it, or grow it, really. Anytime you buy herbs and they have a fibrous stem like this, it's usually a clear indicator when it's sort of dark like that. That's not really edible, but if you get up to the top and you have these sort of smaller green stems, those are edible. So if the whole stem is that light green color, just chop it up and go with it. Otherwise you just kind of pick the leaves off there, and you leave them whole if you want to. They'll cook down the same way as the spinach, or if you want to just chop them up a bit. It's just as easy. Okay. This, like that. At this point, I'm going to cut the heat down because you can see this is pretty well thickened up. This guy's trying to get out. Okay. Alright. Now just go for a little bit of salt now. Fresh cracked pepper. I started out with a little bit of red pepper flake too in the pan just to get a little bit of kick. Okay. Okay. Alright, so at this point you're going to want to taste your sauce there. Once you get the pasta in there, it gets a little bit more difficult to do. Holy crap. You're gonna die when you eat this. Okay. So now we're ready to go ahead and fold our pasta in there. Just go ahead and dump it right in. It's sitting here for a minute, so it's already got some stickiness going on there. Okay. Alright, just now back with your rubber spatula. Just sort of fold it all together. Okay. Okay, so that's how that should look. Everything pretty well distributed, of course. Okay, so now what I like to do to sort of freshen it up a little bit. Fresh from the tomato on the top. Anytime you're cutting tomatoes or any soft skin produce, really, you're going to want to use a serrated knife. The reason being is that a serrated knife is going to allow you to sort of saw through it like that without putting too much pressure on the tomato and squishing it. So I'm just going to cut these into these rounds like this. These are going to go on top of that. Just like so. Just sort of scatter them about. Okay. One more. Boom. Alright, now with the rest of that cheese, just go right over the top of that. Here, I'm going to use it up. Okay. Just a little fresh cracked pepper on the top. And this is now ready to go into the oven. It's cooked all the way through. All you need to do at this point is sort of melt that cheese down on top. And that's ready to go, ready to serve. So I'll have pictures for you at the end. It's going to be pretty irresistible, so I won't be surprised if I hear from some of you saying you made this at midnight this evening. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye. Hey guys. Okay, so it's been about 10 to 15 minutes. The macaroni and cheese is done. Just wanted to show you the grand reveal here. Boom! Bubbly, delicious, golden brown goodness. Obviously, you're going to let it cool down slightly before you eat it. Or if you can't resist and do this now, I'm not going to be held responsible for any burns you may receive. So yeah, that's that. That's macaroni and cheese. You can see it makes quite a bit, so feel free to cut that recipe in half if it's just you and somebody else, or I don't know if it's just you and you want to eat that whole pot. By all means, do whatever makes you happy. I have some pictures of this for you right now. melty, delicious, definitely not nutritious mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. Mac and cheese.